This is like really a fundamentally different mechanism by which the measurement plays out. And that paired with the conversion-based bidding, conversion-based optimization is like, it feels like we're on the verge of something really cool.
This episode of the e-commerce playbook is brought to you by Mercury. Here at Common Thread Collective, we know that cash flow is everything, especially right now. That's why we always recommend that our clients use Mercury to manage their banking, capital, and cards all from one place. Mercury lets you receive funds, generate invoices, and send free international and domestic wires in US dollars. Mercury also gives you instant access to virtual credit cards and 1.5% cash back across all your spend. Plus, if you need inventory or advertising, try Mercury's founder-friendly capital. Mercury brings all the ways you use money into one product that feels extraordinary to use. Deposit $5,000 or spend $5,000 using your Mercury credit card within your first 90 days to earn $250, or do both for $500 in total rewards. Just go to mercury.com/CTC to give it a try with no minimum deposits. That's mercury.com/CTC. Mercury is a technology company, not a bank. Check show notes for details. Hey folks, welcome back to the e-commerce playbook podcast. I'm your host, Richard Gaffin, Director of Digital Product Strategy here at Common Thread Collective. And I'm joined yet again, I think it's been a couple weeks since we've had him on, but Tony and McCay Rasmussen, our intrepid explorers of incrementality here. Tony and McCay, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Richard.
How are you, Richard?
Great. Love it. So what we're talking about here is actually, maybe I'll have Tony, you jump in and kind of remind us what we're talking about. So our team has been testing the new incrementality attribution setting on Meta over the last, I guess it's been 2 weeks now. And we have some learnings, we have some stuff to share with you. So Tony, quickly remind us kind of what we've been doing.
So this is a brand new product from Meta called Incremental Attribution. And it's an alternative optimization setting as opposed to choosing 7-day click, 1-day click, 7-in-1. So it's a totally different optimization setting. And fundamentally, it's like completely different under the hood in how it accounts for value, conversion value from any given campaign. So it's not based on any sort of time window. So that's like the basic outline of what we're talking about. Now, I don't know if you want me to get into, since we spoke last, I've become even more excited about this product, but let me pause there.
Well, I would say if new information has come to light that it's getting you excited, Tony, then I do want to hear about it. So let's, if you think it kind of reveals something about particularly the efficacy of this test, then I think it would be definitely relevant.
Well, let me just like lay one thing out, like this feeling that I'm having right now. I've been doing media for a long time, and I remember media, let's say 10 years ago, before we had conversion-based bidding, right? So min-ROAS or cost cap. So back in those days, we used to do bidding manually. We'd bid for like a cost per click. And I think about like how transformational it was for all of the advertising platforms to give us this outcome-based mechanism by which to manage our campaigns. And now we use it like almost all the time. Like it's the only thing we do. So I actually feel like we're at a similar point right now where this isn't just a little like kind of small twist. This is like really a fundamentally different mechanism by which the measurement plays out. And that paired with the conversion-based bidding, conversion-based optimization is like, it feels like we're on the verge of something really cool. So,
okay. But
before we get into all of that specific stuff, McCay and I have been talking quite a bit about the incrementality measurement and the journey that we've been on over the last 18 months. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about like quite a few of the challenges. So like incrementality measurement, geo holdout, it's the best, it's the gold standard. It's the best that we have, but it's not without challenges. And I'd love for McCay, if I could kick it over to you to just sort of run through what are some of the challenges that we see when we're going through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Tony, to your point, it's the best we have as of now until incremental attribution came out. But some of the challenges with running incrementality tests in those benchmarks is it's point of time based, and that can be problematic in the sense that brands obviously go through different seasons, and those different seasons may, and what we've experienced is may change that incrementality benchmark. What we're having to do is run quarterly tests to get kind of this benchmark of what kind of lift does our meta spend or does our media spend actually give us. In addition to that, even changing spend thresholds. So going from, and this is kind of in line with seasonality, but going from, let's say, spending at this level versus spending at this level, those may have different benchmarks as well. And then just to throw in even more complexity into this is new and existing customer mix. You have attribution windows, which again, historically we've seen 7-day click versus 7-day click with view have different incrementality reads. And then there's bidding value versus bidding volume, campaign type. So there's all these variables when you're running these tests. And I think the reason Tony and I are so excited about this is this effectively puts an end to all of this. This is an always on tool where you no longer have to account for all these different variables and seasonality and point of time and spend thresholds. And it's just like, this is going to do this for you all the time, every impression. So.
Right. Yeah.
Excited,
so I think like this, to
to
summarize, like, yeah, the thing about this tool that's so incredible is it's essentially running an incrementality test all day, every day, no matter what time of day, no matter what's happening. This incrementality testing is running all the time. So you have a much clearer sense of the actual performance of your ads. So let's talk a little bit then about, given those challenges with incrementality, or rather, maybe I should phrase it this way. What exactly have we been testing then over the last couple of weeks? So we've been testing, as I understand it, our sort of geo holdout, our old system versus, and kind of like comparing it to the data that we're getting from this sort of ROAS measurement in Meta. Is that correct? And can you unpack that a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we tested. So 2-cell test, both cells had the same ads, same everything. The only difference was the attribution setting. So on one side we had standard attribution, click only, 7-day click, versus cell B was incremental attribution. And that was the only difference between the two. And yeah, Tony, do you want to dive into what we found?
Trusted by more than 200,000 startups, small businesses, and e-commerce companies, plus many of our clients here at CTC, Mercury gives you the ability to manage your banking, capital, and cards all from one place. E-commerce Playbook podcast listeners get $250 by depositing $5,000 or spending $5,000 using the Mercury credit card within your first 90 days, or do both for $500 at mercury.com/CTC. Mercury is a technology company, not a bank. Check show notes for details.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to share a slide, which you guys can publish. Okay, Richard, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to McCay's point, everything the same creative, same everything in the campaign. The only difference, the split was one running standard attribution, in this case, 7-day click, if I'm not mistaken, McCay, and the other arm running incremental attribution. So, and this is like the punchline. This is like the, why should I care about this? Or what does this do for me in my business? Ultimately, the difference between these two campaigns is one had $3,800 in conversion value. The other had $3,100 in conversion value. So the incremental attribution campaign had $700 or 18% more sales. So when you look at it in Meta, they describe it as a ROAS lift, as a lift over BAU. And effectively what this is saying is that this optimization tactic is leading to more sales from the same amount of media investment. Now, this gets us very, very excited, right? Because I think it's easy for us to kind of nerd out in the technology and like the coolness of it. But for all intents and purposes, our partners, our clients, the businesses we work with, fundamentally what they care about is the outcome. So the reason McCay and I are super excited about this is because we're starting to see incrementally better outcomes as a result of using this tactic in the tests that we're running. McCay, I'm curious if you have anything else to add as you've been watching this really closely.
Yeah, I think this just represents us being on the cusp of something, a huge monumental shift within all media buying. And I guess how I'd put it is our job is to allocate we'll cut that. Our job is to maximize our paid media efforts against the business outcomes we're looking for. And I think like if we circle back to what we're doing right now as buyers is, adjusting budgets, adjusting cost controls based on our incrementality reads, going into the exclusions, and really just trying to optimize our media to the best effort. This is essentially taking that a step further, and it's going to allow us to be fully optimized. I mean, I guess the most optimized you could get is an always on incremental attribution. And so I think we're just on the cusp of something huge.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So talk to me about like maybe a little bit more about the setup of this test, because actually, can you pull that slide up again, Tony? That'd be helpful. All right. So looking at this slide here, so what we're seeing is that essentially optimizing for incremental attribution resulted in a performance lift against the optimization for standard attribution. So just to be clear, to ask a couple dumb questions here, this is not showing that incremental attribution is more accurate in the sense that standard attribution actually produced a similar result, but the incremental attribution is actually reporting it correctly to the tune of being $700 over. What we're actually saying here is that what this test shows is that incremental attribution actually results in something better. Is that correct, Tony?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it, that it actually produced more of an outcome, $700 more sales.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about like the roadmap and the next steps that we're going at here, because one of the things that, okay, Tony, make this not confusing.
All right.
A bunch of different ways to execute these tests, these types of tests. This version 1, this first version that we're doing, is all happening in the Meta Ads platform. Okay. So it's A/B split test in the Meta Ads platform. And the Achilles heel of running the tests in the platforms is that all of the revenue is platform reported. It's like grading your own homework effectively.
Right. Right.
So now that's okay. It's a good place to start. And we encourage everyone to start here actually. But McCay's roadmap that he's going to talk about on his pathway of having all the accounts at CTC fully utilizing this across the board is to do a geo holdout. So that's actually the next step of this.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but to answer your question, with the visibility that we have from this style of test, one produced $700 more than the other one.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Okay. So that makes sense. So then just to clarify for everyone, what we are measuring here is Facebook's reporting about, or Meta's reporting rather, about incremental attribution versus standard attribution. Not necessarily that we've run sort of an quote unquote independent geo holdout lift study yet, but that's next on the docket. Here, one more question. We can cut this if it's not relevant, but the ROAS lift that's reported on the standard attribution, what is that a ROAS lift over? Just the average account ROAS or something?
Yeah, from how I understand it, it's essentially just giving a lift in what the in-platform ROAS is showing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I think that covers then sort of A, the challenges with our initial way of reading incrementality, B, why we're so excited about this, and C, some initial kind of promising data about what the iROAS setting might be capable of. And then we've given like a little bit of a roadmap for what's next, but maybe kind of flesh that out a little bit beyond just doing the geo holdout test. What do you kind of see down the road, a few more steps?
Fully optimized.
That's right.
No, I mean, McCay and I were sort of joking about this in these conversations. Like McCay touched on it earlier about like all the things that media people do. We go build campaigns, we make optimizations, we communicate, and you often like in this media world, you hear like sort of a thing like, I want to make sure our campaigns are fully optimized. Like, what does that actually mean practically for all intents and purposes? Like, and I think what this represents is that potential, honestly. So let me be more specific. I have a campaign that I understand what I'm selling and I understand the unit economics of what I'm selling so I can get to setting a target. Now, McCay's going to caveat me here because we don't have any efficiency based bidding for this product yet. They're running it with just highest volume. So TBD soon to come, but assume we're going to get there. So I have the target, right? Now I have, as far as audience goes, broad. And I'll take it a step further, like no more excluding anybody, right? Because I'm going to let this incrementality tool figure out the incremental contribution of my new versus my returning customers. And we have a bunch of different ways that we talk about returning customers. So got my target set, super wide open on the audience side, inflated budgets so I don't miss any potential opportunity, and always on incremental impact testing that flows back into it. And what we're talking about is truly and honestly a state of fully optimized.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's a step closer than to Zuckerberg's dream of you put money in, you get money out. And that's essentially what ad buying becomes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, it's a future we can all hope for. And as we kind of continue down that road towards figuring out whether that's coming or not, I will keep in touch with both Tony and McCay about this over the next few weeks. So when do you expect kind of the next round of testing to come in?
Yeah, I think like the roadmap here is, and I would encourage anyone, because incremental attribution should be rolled out to most accounts by now. So I think like the first step is doing an in-platform test like we've done here. We can set up the conversion lift test under the experiments tab and then just do a 2-cell test similar to what we did. The next path, or I guess the next steps in this path or me, and I'd say for anyone else, is getting a true incrementality test on incremental attribution. So doing a legit geo holdout, not necessarily in platform, but through a third-party tool, or we have our own at CTC, getting a read there. And then the end state is pivoting the entire account, to Tony's point, to incremental attribution. So that's what we're aiming for.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. Anything else you guys, Tony, McCay, want to hit on this before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, I told McCay that we got to be back here in not too long to talk about that full account running on this incremental attribution product. So we're pushing hard into this. I believe it's the future. I believe we're actually on the verge of something that's really, really meaningful in our industry, and we're excited to keep plugging away at it, testing it, so we can bring it forward to our clients.
Awesome. All right. Well, as soon as we know more, we will let all of you know as well. But until then, we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.